developing the relationships and adding value to the clients that you're working with. And as you build the relationships and add value, the business follows behind it.
Welcome to Biz Stories Shared, where storytellers share their inspiration, motivation, some disappointments, and how they applied the lessons that led them to success. Stories are gifts. Listen as these gifts are shared. Now, here is your host, Charlotte Plott.
Hello, storytellers. This is Charlotte Plott, and I'm thrilled to bring you our guest today, Mark Kirstein. Mark, are you ready to be a storyteller?
Yes, I am. I'm ready to go.
Mark Kirstein is the owner of Sandler Training by Mercury Professional Development. Mark helps clients optimize their sales, performance, and processes through training and coaching. Mark possesses a unique combination of corporate and entrepreneurial experience across sales and management roles. For nearly 20 years, he has led consulting and analyst organizations that advise and help clients optimize the market development. After initiating his career in engineering, Mark shifted to a business focus as a market expert, advising global technology and media companies. He led a global team of sales, marketing, and research professionals. After selling his research company to the NPD Group, Mark led the firm's entertainment business until he started his Sandler training business. Well, Mark, I've given our listeners just a little summary about you, so will you take a minute and tell us more about you personally, because we want to get to know you better, and then give us an overview of your business.
Well, as you said, I had a little bit of a odd beginning for what ultimately turned me into a sales and management trainer, starting as an engineer. But what I learned from that is that, no matter where you start, no matter what your inherent personality is, that you can enhance your skills and learn new things, and in particular, enhance your ability even to sell and to be a people person, if you will, even if that doesn't necessarily come naturally to you. So after my start as an engineer, I moved into technology market research, where we were following the ups and downs of the internet stage even before the internet really started to exist. So it started off with computers became internet became cell phones, all of it became broadband and social media and networking and iPhone devices that we all take for granted today as if they've always been around. And we, as a market research company, were basically advising those early technology companies in which markets they should focus on and where they should participate in that. Should I go into the meat of my story now?
If you'd like to, sure.
Okay, so where things really for me got exciting is as my career in market research progressed, and I became general manager of the market research firm Instat, which was a fairly large, about 60 people worldwide. Early success was complemented by an entrepreneurial spirit. And when I had an opportunity to feed that entrepreneurial spirit, I broke away from Instat and I started a couple of different entrepreneurial ventures. One of them was purchased by a competitor of Instat fairly quickly, and I went to work for them for a couple of years. And then the second one really started from the ground up, and it was a very exciting time still in the 2005 timeframe. The economy was doing fairly well, still a lot of early activity in the internet and mobile space, and digital video just starting to come about. And me and my partners started our business from scratch. It was called Multimedia Intelligence, all self-funded, and we went from a self-funded venture, the three of us, to 7 employees in about 18 months. And at the end of the 18 months, we were all drawing a salary. So we were paying the 4 people plus the 3 founders were drawing salaries for ourselves. So it was fun, and it was a great upward ride. I learned a lot about all of the mechanics of running a standalone business. In the meantime, my old company, Instat, had had a little bit more challenges in the marketplace, and my boss from that company was recruiting me to come back and run Instat. And I was having such a good time that I was not ready to move back unless he bought my company, and he wasn't prepared to do that until the world changed in the financial crisis in 2008.
Oh,
So that was kind of, the impetus of the story here was a great startup, a really great run on the way up, and then a very, very fast challenge when 2008 came along, and ultimately we were not able to keep the business running after that financial crisis, and I ultimately ended up taking my old boss up on his offer to come back and run Instat again. So that was, as you can imagine, a little bit of a terrifying ride. I didn't know how much still lay ahead at that point, so the best of the story was yet to come. Not more than a couple of months, it was less than 6 months that I rejoined Instat, that I was notified that the big publishing company, Reed Elsevier, that owned not only Instat, but about 100 other business-to-business publishers, has decided that they were going to exit the North American market.
oh no.
And as you can imagine, their revenues were predominantly advertising revenues, and the rise of Google and other internet advertisers had placed undue pressure on those advertising revenues. So they came to us and they said, any businesses that we can't sell, we're going to shut down.
Oh,
So just after coming off of the roller coaster ride to the top of 2008 and then going into 2009, I was once again facing the edge of a cliff
oh,
of potentially being shut down within months for the business that I had just rejoined. And a few months after that, my boss from Reed Elsevier came to me again, and he said, we're not going to be able to sell your business. We've got some buyers for a few of the businesses. Yours isn't one of them.
oh
The
no.
best I can do for you is if you bring a proposal to the table as to how you guys can survive, if you can find a buyer or find a way for you to go out on your own, we'll listen to it and we'll decide whether or not that is something that the company would be willing to do or not. So again, the big excitement, my partners and I, we all rallied. We went out, we found a financial backer, we got all of the pieces in place, and we managed to negotiate a management buyout and take Instat private from that outcome. And that was kind of once again the top of the hill, as we managed to secure that management buyout, take the company private, get it up and running and profitable within under a year. And if I imagine a lot of people have not had the experience of taking a business that's part of a multi-billion-dollar corporation and make it
No.
completely independent.
Oh my goodness.
You need payroll, you need IT, you need websites, you need every aspect of an ongoing business, and you need it within months. But we managed to secure that. We managed to go private. And about a year and a half after that, we sold the business to our financial backer, which was the NPD Group.
My goodness.
So that was the top of the hill, and that's at least the major part of my roller coaster ride story.
Oh, that is incredible story. And how much experience you gained during all of that.
Oh, absolutely.
And have you thought about writing a book?
No, I've never even contemplated writing a book. I keep myself pretty busy without writing the book. But certainly, some of the ups and downs you go through in the business world, whether it's an entrepreneurial side or a corporate side, teaches you a lot of lessons.
Oh, a lot of lessons. Do you have a background in your family of entrepreneurs? Or are you the first one?
No, I'm the seed of an entrepreneur, and I think it probably started all the way back when I was about 10 or 12 years old, and the oil crisis was causing gas lines
Yes.
across the country. And I couldn't have been more than 10 or 12 years old, and I was buying newspapers from the newspaper stand and going and selling them at a huge markup to all the people who were waiting in line for the gas pumps, and then taking their order for fast food if I wanted to go pick them up a cup of coffee.
Oh my word. You definitely started as an entrepreneur young. That's very clever. Because those people, that probably kept a lot of people from getting in fights when they were in line because they were busy reading the paper.
Yeah, and they had their coffee.
And they
So
had their
everybody does
coffee.
better if they've got their coffee in the morning.
Oh, that's for sure. Well, your story so far is very exciting. And so I would like to divert a little bit and ask you if you would share your favorite mantra or quote.
I think for me the mantra and quote that I live my life by, and it's more of a mantra than a quote, is that you need to stay focused and that you need to persevere. Where things may look the most dire for you, or almost the impossible is out in front of you. If you just stay focused and persevere, good things can happen.
Well, that's a very powerful one, and it certainly sounds like you really apply that too, and you apply it to your everyday thinking.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's business is not easy, and it's not easy to start companies and be successful with them. So you have to you stay focused on the outcome that you're going to achieve and ride through the challenges and just make them happen.
Well, you certainly did have a lot of challenges to ride through. You've shared many facets of your life, being in business and helping. Along the way, one of the times that you just didn't get the results that you set out to achieve. And if you feel like you've already shared that, then you don't have to repeat it. But if you have something that you would like to share here, we'd love to hear it.
I think part of it is that the failures that you encounter, and in my case, the biggest failure, if you will, was the collapse of my company, which over 18 months had gone so well, and we were so excited about what it could become and where it was going. At the time, you look at that experience as it's undergoing the financial crush of the finance collapse. The experience of failure and living it in the moment is not only a life lesson, but it's one of those that sticks with you. You know how hard it is to ride on the downside of the roller coaster.
That's for sure. Um, do you have a secret to how you pulled yourself back up again? What's your stamina, your intestinal fortitude to do that?
you know i I think there's an element of higher spiritual sense, and I don't necessarily characterize that as traditional religion, but more of that we're our path has some nuances to it, and we need to keep following that path, and we can't believe that at the low point that's the end of the path, that that's just preparing us for what's going to come next. It's giving us the experiences and the background that we need to do the next thing.
That was very well said. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your story. Sometimes it's kind of hard to go back over those painful moments, but that sometimes helps us to remember we did learn lessons and they help us to move forward, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think I think all of the experiences that I had as an entrepreneur running multimedia intelligence and building that business were the things that I needed to know in order to do the management buyout. And if I hadn't had that experience, including the failure, I wouldn't have known how to go about building a payroll or how to go about building a website or the other things that not only did I need to know, but I needed to know them like instantly.
Instantly. You didn't have time to go get a book and read up on it, didn't you?
Nope.
Well, what I want to do now, Mark, is to go to the other end of the spectrum and let's talk about a time in your journey when you had an aha moment, when you became aware of the new path that you wanted to travel. Take us to that moment when you had the light bulb go off and then through the steps that you took to turn that idea into success.
Well, I'm going to give you two aha moments. One, because I've shared a lot of it already, which was looking back and realizing that the experience that I had at Multimedia Intelligence was exactly the preparation I needed for the next part of my journey.
Right.
And that was definitely, in retrospect, an aha moment. The more recent aha moment, which is new part of my story, is after I left the NPD group, I was purchased, my business was purchased by the NPD group, and I shifted roles to lead their entertainment business, advising studios like Warner Brothers and Universal Pictures and video distribution companies like Verizon and Netflix, as well as music labels. After I separated from the NPD group, I was out trying to decide what I was going to do next. And while I was at the NPD group, I was exposed to and trained in Sandler training methodology, which is the business that I lead now.
Okay.
And trained for about 4 years in that business. When I left and ventured out on my own, and my path once again crossed with the opportunity to start a business associated with Sandler, that was my aha moment again, that it was time for yet another change in my career and another path.
Wow. You must always be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm back in that startup phase of the business where you're chasing every customer and trying to build on what you have, and still at the uncertainty phase where you have to have that perseverance to keep chugging it out and building new customers and adding value.
Oh, that's for sure. And all of those things just are helping you to keep growing and growing and look at you now.
Yep.
What is the phrase that you have introduced yourself as?
Uh, I often will introduce myself as living proof that an engineer can learn how to sell, and it just kind of captures it captures the path and the journey that I've been on, from starting off as an engineer that spent 60 hours a week behind a computer programming and designing chips, and not knowing how to talk to people, or not feeling comfortable, certainly not in a sales cycle, but not even really feeling comfortable with public speaking, and ultimately venturing to the point where I work, not only in front of a group, but helping other people be more successful with their sales and with their leadership.
I think that that's remarkable, and you are a very good example of what can be done when you set your mind to it and are willing to really dig deep into the talents and skills that you really do have. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to ask you now to come to the present time and to share your proudest entrepreneurial moment.
Well, my proudest entrepreneurial moment, I suppose, was I don't know that it's in the present yet. I'm still riding on the success that I had with the management buyout, and the next entrepreneurial moment that I'll have all the pride in the world in is after I build the business I'm running now to the level that I want to achieve.
Well, I'm sure that you will achieve that too. Do you have a secret on how you plan to do that?
I don't know if it's a secret. My experience with business is it's rarely a secret. It's about building all the pieces and developing the relationships and adding value to the clients that you're working with. And as you build the relationships and add value, the business follows behind it.
Oh, that again was very well said. Well, people learn from hearing stories like yours and how you're growing and making your business a success. So, will you tell us one thing that is really exciting you in your business right now?
I think right now is, really working with my initial clients, who usually they're struggling with some challenge in their sales process or in their sales cycle, and they're trying to figure out how to be more successful. And I've had the experience in the past with Sandler, and working with other Sandler business owners, to have a transformational effect on how people are running their business, who learn the system and apply it and live it every day. And that is really a cool thing, to be able to take somebody who's struggling in their business, teach them not only the techniques, but also the ability to apply those techniques, the strategies, the processes, and the confidence in their own abilities to be able to make a difference in their business and have them be successful.
That has to be very rewarding when you see one of your students become successful based on the way that you help them.
Yep, and I've seen it with some of my employees when I was at the NPD group applying Sandler, and I'm working with several of my clients now to achieve that similar level of success.
Oh, good for you. Well, what's the best business advice that you ever received?
You know, I don't know if I would characterize it as advice or inspiration,
Okay.
but it was that moment when my boss came to me and said, you have the opportunity to save your business. We're not going to be able to help you with it, but you guys go figure it out and make the impossible happen. Because when you're in that moment, you I didn't even have the perspective that was that was a possibility, and he laid out a vision of what I could do, and I just took all of the resources that I had at my disposal and went out and made it happen. But at the time, you have so much unknowns, not only in just making the deal happen, but ultimately, when the bigger companies pulled the plug and you're trying to figure out, oh my God, am I going to fall on my face and have, customers with millions of dollars of commitments, coming after me and letting them down and letting all my employees down, or are we going to be successful or not? And his was the inspiration that let me look beyond the day to day and look at the possibilities and just believe that it could happen.
Well, even though that was a very scary time, I'm sure it had to be. I bet your adrenaline was going, and when you started seeing the possibilities, you probably were just going for all you were worth, weren't you?
Yeah, I think the real moment was when the website was turned off at the old facility and turned on at the new facility, and it actually worked.
Oh my, oh
Because
my.
there is that moment where you go, okay, for the next 2 hours, I'm completely and totally out of business, and when the power comes back on, I'm either a hero or the world is going to end. At least that's your perspective at the time.
Oh, I can imagine. Wow. Well, I'm glad for you that it came on, that the
Yeah, it
lights
did.
all went on. Well, Mark, now I'm going to ask you to share some specific ways that show how you achieved becoming such a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest part of it is, I'd like to say fearless, and I already put through in the diligence or persistence, which has always served me well in my career.
Yes.
But I can't tell you that it's fearlessness. It's not fearless. You're terrified as you're going through some of these moments. You just have to accept that it's scary and that the world is an uncertain place, and do it anyways.
And
And those are the kind of things that has set me up to do what I'm doing now once again and start from scratch in a succession of careers, but really for me a third wave of my career.
well, and when you look back at it, it has to be so exciting for you to see how you did overcome all of those hardships and down times and are successful again and again.
Hmm.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, what is the vision of the future of your business?
Well, we serve businesses across Arizona, primarily in the Phoenix area, but we have some reach down to Tucson as well. And what I want to become is the leading sales training and leadership training resource for companies in the Phoenix area. And that's just a matter of time as I build the business up and develop more and more clients that see the kind of success that I've seen with the Sandler training system.
I really am confident that you're going to achieve those goals too, just with your perseverance and tenacity.
Hmm. Thank you.
Well, Mark, can you share one of your personal habits that you strongly believe contributes to your success?
Well, I guess I would say, and this goes with the Sandler philosophy, which is do the behavior. So you build out your plan, you build out what you need to do on a daily basis to achieve that plan, and you commit to doing it, and you live that day after day. And as time goes on, your business grows. Or in the case of of some of the Sandler clients, their sales grow.
That's a new terminology for me to when you say build out your plan. That sounds a little bit more I don't know if doable, but like, instead of having a to-do list, which kind of gets like a downer, but build out your plan sounds positive.
Well, what we do is we start at the goals of our clients, and I do the same for myself because we live in the world that we teach. You build out your big picture goals, whether those are personal goals or company goals, and you break those down into what you need to achieve from a revenue standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from a proposal standpoint, all the way down to the day-to-day behaviors that you expect from yourself. And then you commit to doing what you need to do in order to reach the top of your goals.
That sounds very powerful and yet doable if you're committed, huh?
Yeah, and I think that's the part of our training that makes so much sense to me as an engineer is there's a art to selling, and some people who are natural born salespeople just get it and they understand it. Some people who start off as engineers, and it should be any analytic types, whether it's engineers, accountants, lawyers, doctors. There's at least a third of the population roughly of people that think more analytically, uh, and they can apply a process to it. It doesn't have to be, just go out and do it and smile and shake hands and do the traditional behaviors, but actually look at the process that it takes to get from where you are to where you want to be, and apply that process to the sales cycle. In addition, I should say, in the same way that you would apply a process if you were an accountant or a lawyer or an engineer.
Well, does that analytical process that a person has, it has to be natural. It has to be something that's within them. Can they learn that?
I think you learn and you develop the parts where you don't have the natural strength. So if you're born as an analytic, which I was born as more of an analytical type with an engineering background, then I have to learn how to be more interactive with people and how to interact with people who think differently. So whether those types of people are more of the CEO types that are very quick and want to make decisions quickly and command the room, or whether those are more of the influential types that want to be, friendly and liked by everybody, and perhaps are natural born salespeople, or whether those are analytics or other types. You learn about the other ways that people interact with other people and how they think in their head, and that makes you more effective at the sales process.
I can. You explained that very well. So it is doable for anybody if they have the desire to be successful in sales, even if they aren't born analytical, they can still succeed at it, huh?
Yep.
Good. Well, it gives us hope. Well, Mark, do you have an internet resource to share with our listeners that helps with your efficiency, like Evernote or an app? And storytellers, you will find the links to these sites in the show notes of today's episode at bizstoryshared.com. Mark Kirstein.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think my favorite app, if you will, is one that everybody knows about, but perhaps everybody can learn new techniques to make it more effective. That's LinkedIn is an unbelievable resource that, again, once you're in it and you live it, which everybody in today's world does, you can hardly imagine how the economy worked before we didn't have
Wow.
some resources powerful. But the tools and the resources that you can use from a sales, marketing, networking ability to find new people through LinkedIn and use it effectively are unbelievably powerful resource to helping you build your business.
I've never thought of LinkedIn as powerful as that. I'm on LinkedIn and I post the all of the podcasts on LinkedIn. So I'm going to have a new admiration for its power, huh?
Yeah, I think the more you learn about LinkedIn and how it works and what you can do with it, and working with the other people in your social network, because it's not a one person show. It's really about leveraging your resources across all of the people that you know and building trusted relationships and using that tool as a facilitator to extend the people that you know and the reach that you have out into the community.
Well, that was a very good description of it. Thank you. Well, would you describe for us who would be a perfect referral for your business? Like, who of our listeners, if they want to know who would benefit from doing business with you, who who would that be?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Sandler training has proven to be almost industry agnostic. It applies across so many different industries, and we have 250 independently owned training centers throughout the world. So it's really more of a characteristic of the individual and of the company than the industry. We usually work with and help clients who are facing one of two challenges. They're either struggling or they're worried about their sales pipeline, their close rate, their prospecting, and they're struggling to make sure that the sales are happening on an ongoing basis, and they're frustrated with prospects that aren't materializing at the rate that they'd like. And we help them to figure out how to make an impact or make a change there. Sometimes they're on the other side of that equation, and that's the second piece where they're doing fairly well, but they're looking to scale to a new level. So, in that case, their struggle is, how do I hire the right people? How do I put in a process? And how do I achieve my own goals of growing my business rapidly while developing a sales team that can execute across the entire team in a consistent manner so that they're all following the same process, using the same language, and all as effective as each other, and in some cases as effective as the CEO, who usually was the founding salesperson.
Wow, very good description. Thank you for that. Well, if you could recommend just one book to our listeners, what would it be?
And I'm going to fall back on my revelation about how valuable and useful the Sandler training system is. David Sandler wrote a book a long time ago, and it's been updated a number of times by our current CEO, Dave Mattson, and it's called "You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar." And it really looks at not only the selling system itself, but also that selling and the selling skills is not something that you can do a 6-hour seminar and come away and go, oh, I've had a revelation, I'm suddenly a great salesperson. It's like being an athlete. You need to train, you need to have consistency, and ultimately you need to build muscle memory so that half or more of the behaviors that you have just automatically happen in your day-to-day behavior because you've trained so well and you've used it so effectively that you're good at it, and you can use that extra brain power to become great.
So the muscle memory that piques my interest. So how do they teach you to develop your muscle memory?
We use reinforcement training, so our philosophy is based on not just a one-time seminar, but rather having ongoing training where you are working with both the Sandler trainer as well as your peers to practice, to develop the skills, to take them out into the field, and try them, and then come back into a safe environment and understand what you did well and what you didn't do well, so that you can improve with every single sales call.
Oh, that does sound like that's a very good process. Mark, I have truly enjoyed listening to your journey and the stories that you shared. So would you please share one more time how we can get in touch with you and any other resources that you want us to have, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, so the easiest place with all my contact information is www.mark.sandler.com. My email address is mark.kirstein@sandler.com. And my cell phone number is 480-678-7778.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for being so generous with your time and expertise and your experiences. Okay, listeners, you can find links to this resource and everything that we've been chatting about in today's episode by going to bizstorieshared.com/Mark Kirstein. Thank you again, Mark. And we'll say goodbye.
I enjoyed it.
I did too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Give the storyteller some love. Go to bizstorieshared.com, click on the iTunes button, and give a 5-star review. Thanks.